Hello and welcome back to Revise GCSE History.co.uk. This is the third video in the series Medicine in Ancient Greece, and in the video today we're going to be looking at the Greek theory of the four humours. This is a natural explanation of disease, and we're going to be looking at it further throughout this video. So, they had natural beliefs too. At the same time as the Greeks were staying in Asclepions, or Asclepions, other Greeks were developing new theories about the causes of disease and how to treat it. Their new ideas suggested that gods had nothing at all to do with disease or health. They began to believe that diseases had natural causes. One natural theory they came up with was the theory of the four humours. This was developed by Aristotle. And Aristotle was an ancient Greek. And this is him up here. This picture of Aristotle, there he is. Really important this, it drives me mad. The theory of the four humours was developed by Aristotle. He came up with it. It was not Hippocrates or Galen, who we're going to look at in later videos. It was Aristotle. Remember that. Never write the theory of the four humours was invented by Hippocrates. It was developed by Aristotle. That's a key point. It drives me mad when people put that. I don't know where they get it from. Madness. So it was developed by Aristotle. The theory of the four humours. They believed that the body contained four important liquids, which they called humours. So humours are liquids. Let's just write that, humours. So they're body fluids, the liquids, or fluids. And these four humours were phlegm, blood, yellow bile, and black bile. If these humours stayed in balance, then a person would remain healthy. If they became unbalanced, this could make a person ill. So, phlegm, blood, yellow bile and black bile all needed to be in balance with one another for a person to remain healthy. If they became unbalanced, the person will become unhealthy. You may be wondering why I've got this picture up here, but these four are the four humours. You need images like that to help you remember stuff. It's good for your memory. So humours need to be in balance for good health. If they're unbalanced, the person becomes ill. So why is the theory of the four humours so important? Because it is. Well, it was the basis for many Greek medical treatments, and also doctors continued to believe in the theory of the four humours and treat patients based upon it for well over 1,000 years. The theory was continued for a very long time. So it wasn't just important to the Greeks, but to the Romans and even to people in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. How was the theory exactly developed? How did Aristotle come up with the theory of the four humours? Well, it all builds on different discoveries. The four humours. When someone was ill, there was usually a liquid coming out of the body. For example, phlegm from the nose, or blood from the arm, if they'd hurt their arm, for example. And they decided that these liquids must be the causes of illness. We know today that the theory of the four humours is absolute rubbish, but this is all what the Greeks thought. The liquid, or humour, must be coming out of the body because there was too much of it. There was an excess of that humour, and there was not the same amount of that humour as there was the others. The humours had got out of balance with each other. They became unbalanced. The elements. The theory of the four humours was developed from the theory of the four elements. They believed that everything in the world was made up from four elements. These were air, water, earth and fire. These elements had different qualities. For example, water was cold and wet, or cold and moist. So the theory of the four humours was developed from the theory of the four elements, and the four elements were earth, air, water and fire. The seasons. The seasons were also linked with the four elements. They knew each season was different, and they could see how the elements could explain that. For example, water was cold and moist, and so was winter. Therefore, in winter, water must be the dominant element. And the last link of the theory of the four humours was treating the disease. To treat disease, doctors had to work out which one of the patient's humours was out of balance, and then try to restore them to proper balance. So this slide gives an overview of how the theory was developed and how the Greeks built on the foundation of other discoveries. This chart here gives an overview of essentially all the information on this slide. This is what they thought. In the middle we have the element, then the season that the element links to, the humour that the element and the season links to, and the characteristic of the element, season and humour. So rather than learning all this stuff on the slide, you may just want to learn this chart. And it's good to bring in a few examples in your exam answers. You might not want to learn all the chart, but maybe just learn one section of it. So you can bring examples in your exam answers. So that's the theory of the four humours and how it was developed. Again, this chart shows how the theory all links together. Just a bit of memory work, to be honest, to learn the chart. Again, in the middle, element, season, humour, characteristic, as shown by this key. A copy of the notes for this video and all the videos on my website. It can be found at revisedgcsehistory.co.uk, so you may wish to head over to the website and print yourself off a copy of these notes which contain this chart. So, treatments from the theory of the four humours. The Greeks had this idea that the four humours were blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile, and the four liquids, or the four elements, needed to be in balance for good health. If the humours became unbalanced, a person would become ill, and treatments were aimed at bringing the humours back into balance. So after establishing how the patient's humours are unbalanced, the job of a Greek doctor was to try to rebalance the body's humours, and this could be done by bloodletting, the surgical removal of a patient's blood, vomiting to give a patient something that makes them sick, and purging to remove impurities through faeces. And faeces, if you don't know, is poo. There we are. So just like the ancient Egyptians unblocked the channels of the body using purging, vomiting and bloodletting, I'm pointing to the wrong ones, purging, vomiting and bloodletting, the ancient Greeks did that too, to rebalance the body's humours and to get them back into balance. And the Greeks also understood that there was no cure for some illnesses, and might just recommend a visit to an Asclepion or an Asclepion, as we looked at in the previous video. So a little bit of a test now to check that you can understand what's going on with the theory of the four humours. Pretend you're a Greek doctor, and you've got 3 different patients here, and you need to suggest some treatments for these illnesses. So we'll keep the chart up here to help us out. So on a rainy spring day, your patient keeps throwing up and has a high temperature. Recommend a treatment. Okay, so if we look at the chart, we've got spring, the dominant element is air, and the humour is blood. The characteristic is hot and wet. So we need to get rid of the blood in the patient's body. They have an excess of this humour, blood. So you carry out a bleeding operation. To remove excess blood. That's what we do as your Greek doctor. On a winter's day, your patient nose won't stop running and they keep sneezing. Recommend a treatment. So if we look to winter, dominant element is water, and the dominant humour is phlegm. So they need to get rid of that phlegm. What could they do? Well, you may be sticking to the idea of purging, vomiting, bloodletting, but I'd go with something a bit more easier to do here. I'd probably say give them a spicy food to eat to get rid of that phlegm, as the spices were known to soak up this phlegm. And that is still sort of practiced today. Like if you've got a really bad cold, you might have a hot curry, order a hot curry to take away the illness. So that's probably what you could do. Doesn't always have to be in line with the theory of the four humours. With purging, vomiting, bloodletting. On a summer's day, your patient has a temperature and is sweating. So, dominant element fire, summer, yellow bile is a dominant humour. So to get rid of the yellow bile, what we could do, you purge the patient, giving them something, a laxative, something to make them go to the toilet. There we are. So there's some of the suggestions you may have come up with. Don't matter if it's different, really. I won't worry too much about this if you found this particular activity quite difficult or a bit sort of strange. You'll never be asked anything like this in the exam. You'll never be asked to recommend a treatment pretending you're a doctor. You just need to know the stuff and be able to apply it to the questions. This activity was just designed to make sure you can apply your knowledge. Okay, so back to the usual flavour now. We've come to the end of the video, so I've got 4 quick knowledge recall questions you may wish to attempt on the theory of the four humours. So you might want to pause the video now, jot down some answers, and then press play and we'll go through them. If not, carry on watching and we'll go through the questions together. Question 1. What were the 4 humours of the body? So we've got blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. When did someone become unwell? When their humours became unbalanced. When they became out of balance. What 3 treatments could be used to make somebody better? Well, we need to rebalance the humours, and that could be done through purging, vomiting, and bloodletting. And question 4 was put in, and hopefully every single person watching this video will be able to get that right, after I absolutely stressed this point earlier. Who developed the theory of the four humours? It was Aristotle. Not Hippocrates, not Galen. They simply approved of it. They didn't come up with it. So make sure you get that sorted. Alright, so there are the answers to the quick 4 knowledge recall questions for this video. Thank you for watching the video today. I do hope that you found it useful. Next up, we're going to be looking at an individual Greek doctor who was Hippocrates. And if you want to see some more videos on medicine through time and the American West topics of GCSE history, head over to my website at revisedgcsehistory.co.uk to access a full list of videos and also a comprehensive range of revision materials. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.